Let's move on to a game that happened last night here. Uh, Katie, Booker, and Beal have no answers from Minnesota. They're down 0-3. Uh, Anthony Edwards is having his coming out party, as people have suggested over the last season. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are proving they're one of the better teams in the NBA. They have been all season, and beating the Phoenix Suns should be no surprise because the way that they just have more size than the Phoenix Suns, they have a defensive identity, the ability to get stops, something that Phoenix has not been able to do. Even when Ant-Man struggled in game two, they have not been able to do. So when you look at that and you just look at the impact of the star power of Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he is a superstar. The way he is playing in these playoffs, everyone's saying it's similar to Michael Jordan, the way he scores and shoots, whatever the case may be. But you can tell when a guy is ascending into that next level of his career. And right now, at 22 years old, Anthony Edwards is doing that. He's already have 7 30-point games in the playoffs. That's tied KG for franchise most. What else can you say about Anthony Edwards? 20 points per game in this series, 7.7 rebounds, 6.3 assists. He's creating, he's defending, he's taking on the best defenders for Phoenix, whatever they're trying to throw at him, and they can't do anything. They just can't do anything. Now, looking at it from Phoenix side, they have not been particularly close in this series. Game one was 120-95. Even when Ant-Man played terrible in game two, there was 105-93. And then game three, just last night, 126-109. You're looking at that. There's just no way Phoenix has enough, especially on the defensive end, to compete with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I know people were picking Phoenix just because, they have more talent. And what we're finding out is that talent loses to a team that has chemistry, that has been playing together all season, and a team that gets down on the defensive end. And that is kudos to Chris Finch, their coach. When you look at what bringing in Rudy Gobert, and kudos to Rudy Gobert as well in this series, when you look at Rudy Gobert and look at what he's been able to do this season and in this series, not get taken advantage of on the defensive end, when you figured that was going to be the main mismatch for the Suns, getting Rudy Gobert off the floor and putting them in trouble. And even then, they have Naz Reid coming off the bench. They have Jaden McDaniels, who's a great defender in the NBA. People are saying he's Scottie Pippen to Anthony Edwards being Michael Jordan, all that stuff, whatever. But back to Rudy Gobert, what he's been able to do and not get killed in those situations where Booker, Beal, and KD try to take advantage of him, he has been able to hold his own. And that has been the most important thing for Minnesota, is to build that confidence. And that's something that they've been doing all season, been battling for the number one seed in the Western Conference. And when you look at that from that standpoint, you have to understand that that's diddly right now. That this Minnesota team with Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns is a diddly combination because they're able to defend, play with size, and they're able to score. They have a superstar that's able to score. If Karl Anthony Towns stays out of foul trouble, he's able to score and create mismatch problems down low now and from the perimeter. So it's definitely tricky, and especially with Phoenix, who just doesn't have the size, just doesn't have the depth, just doesn't have the personnel. They just lost Grayson Allen to a sprained ankle. So you're looking at it from that standpoint, and I just don't see this Phoenix team having any answers. They just don't have any answers. Combined, Booker, Beal, and KD, they're only averaging what? I have it here at the bottom here. 1 second. 1 second. Come on now. 64 points between the three of them. It's roughly 21 points between the three of them. 47% from the field, 39% from three-point range. Those aren't terrible numbers, but they're not enough to beat this team. There's not enough there. They need to average close to 80 in order to have a chance in this series, and they're not getting it done on any front. And it's very troubling because you're looking at the future of this Phoenix Suns team. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal's big contract, Devin Booker's there. What options do they have to retool and get back to a level of that where the expectations of this team to be met? And the worst case scenario for this team thinking was at least the Western Conference Finals. You're thinking that you're going to get there with this combined team. They haven't been healthy. The depth isn't there. They have limited resources. How are they going to rebuild this team is the question, because they're not beating Minnesota. They're not beating Minnesota at all.